On this Thursday morning, hours ahead of what's going down a little bit south of where we are, a little bit lower East Coast in Pittsburgh between the Steelers and the Carolina Panthers. A lot of superstars on that field tonight.
So many. It's awesome. You think about the quarterbacks, obviously, but the receivers, and then you also have defensive stars. This is a defensive star loaded game, and yet the offensive guys are going to take the top billing.
And yet Lev is kicking off our show in the morning because, of course, he's trying to take the shine away from what's going on
See what you did there?
later on NFL Network at 8 p.m. But it is time right now for Who Needs to Fuel Your Hustle. It's presented by Oikos 000. We're breaking down players who need to step it up in Week 10. Games on the line. Nate, what do you got?
I'm going with Todd Gurley.
Weird. Why?
I'm going with Todd Gurley. I know you're thinking, Nate, what are you talking about? Todd Gurley, he has 102 total points, which is more than the Buffalo Bills at 96.
You enough.
Right?
He hasn't given you enough.
I need more. Here's why I need more, because they took that L this past weekend, right?
Okay.
He had 79 total yards in a TD, but they had the loss. I want to go back to 2012, where I was playing with Calvin Johnson. We were playing the Vikings. He had 5 for 54, and we held that L. We came in that next week, and I remember Sean Jefferson was a former player, looked at Calvin Johnson while we're in a wide receiver meeting. He said, Calvin, I need you to do more. If you got to hit 100, 150, you got to go for 300. We need you to carry this team. And I remember thinking to myself, man, it's a lot of pressure. Yeah. But I looked at Calvin, didn't blink, didn't waver. All he did was nod his head and said, okay, coach. Next week, he goes put up almost $140. We win the game versus the Eagles. So I say that to say this. Todd Gurley, you're the man. Like, you're the guy on this team. You can't have an 80-yard game in a TD and you guys hold that L. You're that good, where if they got to give you the ball a ton, you got to put up 200 yards and win the game? Yeah. And am I asking for a lot? Being that I feel like you're the best player in football? Of course.
You're holding a different standard.
But you are that guy. So, yeah, he's going to have to fuel his hustle.
I love that. I'm going to go with Andrew Luck here. I feel like lately we haven't talked about him a lot. In general, the Colts are sort of flying under the radar. You talked about Darius Leonard being like a standout on the defense. But I feel like Clark Kent, you know, we talk about Cam being Superman. He's like as if Clark Kent changed into a Superman costume in the middle of the street and nobody was noticing. Like, he's not even going into the phone book. He's doing it in broad daylight for all of us to see, and nobody is talking about it. He is second to only Patrick Mahomes, guys. He has 23 touchdowns on the year. We're talking about the Saints adding Des Bryant. It's T.Y. Hilton and guys like Chester Rogers and Mo Alley Cox that are catching touchdowns from Andrew Luck this year. They've won back-to-back games now. I think if they beat the Jags, and they might because A.J. Boye is out for this one, that's huge for them. I know the Texans are looking good, but I'm sneakily scared, not if I'm a Texans fan, but happy if I'm a Colts fan. They could steal the division.
He's been amazing, Kay. Exceeded expectations. Quentin Nelson, the offensive guard, the 6th overall pick, was voted AFC Offensive Rookie of the Month last month as an offensive guard.
Yeah.
So
That means the tape's got to be great.
I mean, that means that there's...
That's wild.
That's wild. And Andrew Luck might be the best quarterback in that conference, not named Mahomes or Brady right
I need him to fuel his hustle and say, listen, Michael Thomas, there's only room for one flip phone in this town. And it's
right,
mine.
it's mine.
We got to talk about him more, but he's got to make us do that against the Jags.
You like that one? I'm going to go with...
Crazy.
For me, fuel my hustle. All right, look, when you beat the Jets and the Bills, it's fine. We can have a parade for you if you want. But Mitchell Trubisky's about to enter the stretch of the season where we'll see what he's all about as a quarterback. Trubisky plays the Lions. And yes, the Bears are favored and they're home. They should beat the Lions. But Mitchell Trubisky is not a good quarterback when he plays against teams in his division. And that's really all that you're measured by in the NFL. Look at his career here. 0-2 versus the Lions. 0-2 versus the Packers. 0-2 versus the Vikings. It's great to beat the Bills and Jets. And honestly, here's an attaboy. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
That means nothing. Now is the stretch of the schedule. Look who they've got coming up in the next few weeks. You've got Detroit, who you have not beaten before. You've got Minnesota in Week 11. Detroit again in Week 12. Then you end the season with Packers in 15 and obviously at Minnesota in 17. The Bears have been a really cool first half of the season story. Trubisky's done some really neat runs. It's time to show us what you're made of, number 2 overall pick. Let's see what you've got. Because when you get in those division games in the cold weather and you're doing it when the opposing teams know your opposing coaches and they know the game plan you're coming in, that's when you're measured as a man. That's when you're measured as a quarterback. So Mitchell Trubisky, cool season so far. You're right in the middle of the pack like we thought you would be. Now it's when you elevate your game. Now it's when you take on these quarterbacks in your division. Now it's when you start making Bears fans believe you're the guy.
You need more, right? You're saying cool season and neat runs.
Cool season, bro.
Neat runs.
Neat runs. Neat run against the Patriots in a loss.
That's right. All right, Peter, that's good. You want to talk about neat runs? I got something exciting.
That just scared me.
Me too.
Bears fan.
That's
Way
Peter.
to go, Shrigs.
Cool season, bro.
This is exciting because I'm looking at Eagles-Cowboys Sunday night. Big game, all right? And the Eagles running game has been this thing where, you know, Ajayi gets hurt and they didn't make the big move at the trade deadline. They're just going to go with what they got. Well, I'm going to give this to you blind. Doug Peterson was asked about a certain player on his roster and the potential that that player might get carries at running back. Here's what he said.